you should interview as many teams as possible, maybe even all of them that are in the top 20% in your market, literally all of them, and ask lots of questions, have them ask you lots of questions. And by the time that you've interviewed 5 or 10 or 15 teams, it should be clear and evident what is a good culture fit for you. Welcome back to the Doug Edrington podcast, where my goal is to bring you lots of value as a real estate agent. And today I want to talk about a topic that has been very debatable, I guess you could say, and that is team versus solo agent. What is right for you? Now, I'm not talking about team leader in this video, in this podcast. What I'm talking about here is, should you join a team or should you join a brokerage as a solo agent? Should you make a move if you are currently on a team and become a solo agent? Or if you're currently a solo agent, should you consider joining a team? Now, as a team leader, team owner, also, by the way, brokerage owner, one might think that I'm biased to this situation, and I'm biased for specific people. But I am not biased for everybody, because I do not believe that this is a one-size-fits-all situation. What I believe is that you've got to figure out what is right for you. I want to cover a handful of pros and cons for being a solo agent and also for being a team member. And this is not a podcast that is going to convince you one way or the other to all people listening to this. You need to listen to this very specifically to, does this apply to me? Does this or that apply to me, to help you make a decision? So maybe you're new to the business. Maybe you just got your license. Maybe you're thinking about getting your license and you're trying to figure out which way do I go. Maybe you've never even heard of the team or solo aspect. And then for the vast majority of people out there, there is a lot, believe it or not, I read this stat yesterday. It was a NAR stat. 49% of all real estate agents last year sold one or less homes. That's half of our industry that sells one home a year or less. That is sad. That's unfortunate for our industry. Now, not to get into all the reasons why that is the case, but at the end of the day, that tells me there's 50% at least, if not more probably, of agents out there in the industry right now that are saying, okay, I've tried it one way, and it's not going the way that I expected it to go. So therefore, maybe changes on the horizon. So let's break down the two different scenarios. I'm going to start with solo. So when we think pros and cons to being a solo agent, with a solo agent, you have freedom. I'm going to talk pros first. You have freedom unlike no other. You are a true entrepreneur. You are on your own. Yes, you have a broker that can answer questions for you. Yes, you may have an amazing broker that'll be a coach to you. But at the end of the day, it is all on you. You are responsible for every aspect of your business. Now, we all know when you're starting out as a brand new agent, what are the first things you focus on? Your business card, your website. What is your brand going to look like? Do I put magnets on the side of the card? All of those kind of things run through your head at first. But I would challenge you to think a step further as a solo agent, because you're also responsible for the finance, the marketing, the lead, how you're going to manage lead flow if you're buying or generating leads. What's going to be your specialty? What markets do you service in your area or around your area? These are all things that you're going to have to think of. Now, again, I'm talking about pros right now. There is a huge benefit to be in control of these decisions. If you are the person that is, I am going to go far alone, I don't want to work with others, this could be the right fit for you. Also, if you are maybe coming into this business part-time, there can be benefits if you are a highly organized individual, right? If you're saying, I'm coming to this part-time because I can't afford to do it full-time, I don't know if this is the right fit necessarily, because you're going to have a lot of struggles that are going to start with just financial. But I know a lot of people that have very good careers. Or I know of an individual that is right now sold their business. They're working an earn out from where they sold their business, and they're not as involved in that business anymore. and they decided they wanted to start up their next business. They have a trend of starting businesses, and they've done very good with it. That could be someone that has a big plan in mind. The other thing that you can consider as a solo agent is you have the ability to potentially start a team if that's something you want to do. Now, team members can do that too, but again, I'm just focused on solo right now. As you start the world as a solo agent, you are building the brand and the culture and the operations of your business to a high level, I hope. But as a solo agent, you have all these abilities. Now, let's just talk about the cons for a second. I almost could list everything I just said and call that a con. I bet you could agree. Because when you have all of this on your shoulders, you are alone and you are by yourself. And so what is going to be your plan to build out what it's going to take to run the business that you want? A lot of this also has to do with goals. And so if your goal is to sell 12 homes a year, solo might be a good fit for you. If your goal is to sell 100 homes a year, you're probably going to have to build out an organization around yourself focused on solo. But at the end of the day, it's all on you. There's no doubt about it. Now, again, since I'm touching on cons here a little bit, I think one of the problems that come along with joining a brokerage and becoming a solo agent is the learning curve is at a disadvantage for you, generally speaking, for most people. You aren't surrounded by people like you would be on a team to learn the ins and outs of the business. The shadowing opportunities, the role play opportunities, the coaching opportunities, just the experience that you get from being around a team, you're going to be lacking as a solo agent. So it takes a very special person to create the success that's needed in this business. Now, if we flip over to a team, I can talk pros and cons on a team as well. I'm going to let's actually start with the cons. Let's start with the cons with joining a team. You're not in control fully. You're still likely an independent contractor. I do know some team models out there that run an employee model. They're out there, but you're still an independent contractor. But you have the guidance along the way. But then you also have some handcuffs that you need to follow certain rules. So if you get in this business and you're joining a team and you say, I want to do it my way, team's probably not going to be a fit for you. If you want to build out your marketing very specifically, if you're all about generating leads a specific way, maybe you can geek out online and you're really good in your mind at that, or maybe you really are good at that. A team leader may stop you from that, because I know within our team, for the first 6 months, I want you to learn the team way. I want you to understand what scripts do we use, how do we present certain situations. I want you to master the tools and resources that the team has provided you first before you start trying to reinvent the wheel, because chances are the team leader has already been through the experience that you're wanting to try for the first time. So when it comes to cons on a team, you're definitely going to have some golden handcuffs that you need to abide by to be a good team player along that process as you're getting in the business. Pros of joining a team. I would say that a team, now first off, not all teams are created equally. There are a lot of different team models out there. My coach, Tom Ferry, I remember years and years ago, before he was our coach, I remember sitting in a presentation in Charleston, and he explained the 4 team models. I'll probably butcher it if I try to explain it right now, but it was the family business. Mom and dad decide to get into real estate, and their son or daughter is all of a sudden graduated from school with a degree that doesn't do anything. And it's like, hey, you're a new showing agent. Blood's thicker than water. As they grow it, there's the nepotism that goes along with that. Family businesses can be difficult, right? Another model that he referred to was I can't remember the name, but it was the blind leading the blind. It's when 2 agents in the office basically aren't producing, and they look at each other and they say, hey, you're not doing too hot. I'm not doing too hot either. Maybe we'll do better together. And that's a dangerous model, but a lot of those models are built this way. A lot of teams are built this way because people are alone as a solo agent often. So they get together and they start to build a team, and they just lack the foundation that they need to be successful. I see so many of those teams that start as partners. they don't have any previous success. And the moment that they start to build a team, they get 3, 4, 5 agents around them. And next thing you know, they are they're in trouble, they're in hot water, and everybody's pointing the finger at the other person, like, who's in charge. And so you definitely need someone in charge. And so, like, that scenario doesn't work either. He refers to the family business, the blind leading the blind. There's another one, but there's also the business builder, where they actually focus on having someone who's in charge. Everybody's replaceable across the team. He was actually showing this model of Tim Smith, who's a very successful agent out in the Southern California area, I think specifically maybe in Newport, around that area. And the great thing about Tim's business is he actually hired a CEO. He's got a director of operations. He's got a sales manager. He's got all the roles from TC to photography to marketing to everything that you could possibly need to run a very successful business. Now, so as you're thinking about joining a team, as I said, not all teams are created equal. You should start and think about, like, which team am I possibly joining before I join it? Now, how do you... Speaking of pros on joining a team, and also at the same time, the cons of knowing that all teams are not created equal, how do you identify which team is right for you? And I would argue that you should interview as many teams as possible, maybe even all of them that are in the top 20% in your market, literally all of them. And ask lots of questions, have them ask you lots of questions. And by the time that you've interviewed 5 or 10 or 15 teams, it should be clear and evident what is a good culture fit for you. Because if you're thinking about joining a team, that probably tells me that you are really focused on selling as many houses as you possibly can and learning a lot along the way. I think it's that simple. And so you're probably going to experience a culture that's important to you. Teams are very culturally different, and you got to figure out what's going to fit you right. Accountability. Accountability is such an interesting topic that people say they don't need, or they do need, or they already have, or they give to themselves. But at the end of the day, I'll give you an example of accountability. If you're on my team and you've received 20 leads this month, and you have only focused on 2 of them because those 2 people raised their hand and said, I want to buy a house now, come open up a door, and there are 18 other leads that you may want to refer to as crap leads, the accountability on our team is going to help you think through, not just make more phone calls, because make more phone calls doesn't always work. It's make more calls, send more texts, saying the right thing to uncover where they're at in their real estate journey. Because most people skim the cream off the top and they don't go deep into the relationship. So what accountability looks like on our team, just specifically as it applies to leads, is making sure that no rock is unturned. We want to make sure that we treat every consumer the right way, whether they're ready for it or not. They may say, I don't need an agent right now. If you ask the right questions, you might help them understand where their process is for them and if they need an agent right then. And the follow-up is key. So if you think, here's 20 leads, you sold 2, you're patting yourself on the back, you did really good. What if you could have sold 4? That's where accountability kicks in. So accountability, really important, obviously. The other thing I would say that is so important in joining a team, one of the pros that comes along with it, is that especially as a new agent or an agent that is underperforming and they're ready to take it to the next level, underperforming meaning not hitting their goals, right, is lead opportunity. So there are a lot of lead opportunity that you can expose yourself to by being on a team. There are, the one that is generally most exciting for joining our team, the Edrington team, is focused around Zillow Flex. So a lot of people don't understand what Zillow Flex is unless they've been a part of a Zillow Flex team, which there's not many. There's generally 1, maybe 2 teams in every market across the country where Zillow has basically built a relationship with a specific team like ours, and they say, hey, we want to give the lion's share of the leads to this team. Now, why does Zillow want to do that? If I go backwards a little bit and I explain how Zillow got started in a nutshell, is Zillow basically said, hey, we're going to generate leads and sell them to agents. If they convert the lead, great. If they don't, no problem, because the agent paid, or the team leader, paid for the lead, and there was no money tied to the outcome. Zillow did a survey a long time ago and said to all the consumers out there, what do you think of the experience working with Zillow? And the consumer said to Zillow that Zillow kind of sucks because Zillow doesn't return my phone call when I reach out as a consumer. Zillow doesn't return my phone call. Zillow's service isn't that great. Zillow is just a good website, but like when it comes to actually looking or buying a house, Zillow kind of sucks. And Zillow said, wait a minute, that's not us. That's the agent. That's that 49% of agents that sold one or less houses. And so Zillow said, this is giving us a bad rap. So as Zillow does, as a billion-dollar company that they are, they said, hey, let's solve the consumer's problem and make more money along the way. So what Zillow did is they said, hey, we're going to partner with specific teams across the country, and we're going to give the lion's share of the leads to the team that provides the best service to the consumer. And then they're going to ask for money in return for that, which the team leader takes care of for you, or maybe you'd participate with that too. It depends. But at the end of the day, Zillow solved a problem with the consumer as the North Star. I think that's a pretty interesting scenario that creates leads for teams. I do not know of a solo agent that has this Zillow Flex program that I'm talking about. It's only with the top teams in town. Realtor.com has a program called VIP where you buy out where the team leader buys out the entire market of all realtor leads, and so that team prospers from that. Now, again, on top of those two big names out there of Zillow and Realtor.com, I also have found that most of these top teams also list a lot of homes. If you do a lot of business, you probably list a lot of homes, and it generates literally just the simplest thing called sign calls. And there's lots of opportunity. I know within our team, we actually have a system where when someone calls off of a sign, the entire team's cell phones ring at the exact same time. And whoever answers first gets it. Now, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the simple version of it. It's not that it's complicated. It has to do with lead distribution and how people do with their conversion rates on the team. But at the end of the day, I hope I'm helping you understand the pros of leads that come along with being a part of a team. Then there's also the coaching. There's just the structured part of the business that keeps you from dealing with as much change as a solo agent might have to go through in and out on a daily basis. You think about the word change. Everyone says change is inevitable. Change is what happens all the time. And yes, I agree. Even on my team, we're constantly making changes. But it is very methodical with lots of experience behind the decision, which with the goal in mind to have the salespeople on the team make the most money as possible, because that's how the team leader makes more money, is when their people thrive. And so working together as a team is going to help you get to the next level. So as you can tell, I guess I am a little biased as it comes as a team. But that being said, there are many people that I have spoken to that said, hey, I'm thinking about joining the team. And then I identify, at least for us, that they're not a good fit for us. And they probably are likely to be a good solo agent based on their personal goals, their needs, their dreams, their desires. And so you've got to figure out what's right for you. But at the end of the day, to help solve this problem for you, if you're on the fence and you're trying to figure out what to do, I think the solid answer is interview as many teams and brokerages for that matter, so you can ask lots of questions and figure out, hey, what's the churn rate look like here? What does the average agent sell on this team or at this brokerage? Because if you're joining a group of people, you're most likely to be like them after enough time spent with them. So I would challenge you to decide before you join or before you make the jump, if you're already somewhere and you've identified you're not at the right place, I would go interview a lot of opportunities out there for you to decide before you make the jump. It's not about, I have a friend there. It's not about they have the sexiest office. It's not about they're conveniently located close to my home. These are the scenarios that I hear all the time of why someone wants to join a brokerage. It shouldn't be about those things. It should be like, what does skill set look like here? What does statistics look like here? What does lead flow look like here? What does accountability look like here? What's a path for me to grow within this company? There are opportunities, and I will say the majority of the top team members on teams in the biggest cities probably make more money than the majority of the solo agents out there. So another piece is you got to put your ego aside and become a part of something greater than just you alone if you're joining a team. Now, if ego is important to you and you want to build your own brand, solo is going to be right for you. I hope this gives you something to think about. I can tell you I speak to people all the time asking this question in Chattanooga and friends outside of Chattanooga that say, hey, I'm thinking about getting in the real estate business. Who should I join? I'm giving them the same advice, having the same conversation with them. It's up to you to choose. There is no right or wrong answer that fits all people all across the board. It comes down specific to you. So make sure you do your homework, you go the distance. Comment below. Let me know if I missed something. Give me some feedback and let me know, like, hey, this is why I think solo is great for people. This is why I think teams are great for people. I think the comments will help us all think a little bit stronger, take it to the next level. Thank you for listening to the Doug Edrington podcast. Please subscribe and make sure that you watch the next one. I'm going to continue to give value in and out that's going to help you and your business.